People just don't want to know, but they want to know how. So the premise of the book really is simple. It says your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality sitting here today has created the present personal reality called your life, which also means that if you wanted to create a new personal reality, then on a fundamental level, you would have to change some thoughts, begin to behave differently, and begin to live by different emotions. So I think the biggest problem with all of us is that we try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it never works.
So you said the way to change that personality is to change your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Easier said than done, and it's not just about the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change your entire physiology around
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Absolutely. So, you know, the key element to change is then to be greater than your environment, to be greater than your body, and to be greater than time. And when we get about the business of change, we're always, you know, interacting with the same people and doing the same things and going to the same places. And it's the environment, our external world, that's controlling how we think and feel.
Our
now,
patterns, right?
At the moment we begin to react in the same way to the same conditions in our life, then we begin to cause different circuits in our brain to turn on equal to everything that we know in our life. And that repetition over time begins to hardwire our brain to everything familiar in our life.
So give me an example of that.
Well, you wake up in the morning, you go to, you know, work the same way, you see the same people that push the same emotional buttons, you get at your desk and you do the things that you know how to do so well. You drink coffee out of your favorite mug, you complain to the same people in the same way that stir up the same emotions. You see the same people that push the same emotional buttons with you. And then as in time, we could say that the environment really is shaping and molding how we think and feel. So to change then is to be greater than the environment, to begin to act and think and feel differently than our present circumstances.
So it doesn't work that you even just change your routine, because you will automatically set it up to create the same type of circumstances with a whole different routine. If you change jobs, if you take your child to school or whatever it is.
Sure. And you know, there's a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. And plasticity tells us that we're changed by every thought we think, every new experience we have, every different choice we make, every new dream that we fabricate. The brain literally reorganizes itself to reflect a new level of mind, which begs the question, I think, that most people really are thinking the same way every day, acting the same way, and feeling the same way, but really hoping something will show up differently in their life, and it never does. So, you know, hardwiring our brain over time to the same conditions in our life then causes us to think equal to everything we know. And if we believe in any way that our thoughts have something to do with our destiny, then as long as we're reacting to everything we know in our life, we keep creating more of the same.
So neuroplasticity is the way that the brain actually makes those changes. It's the connections of neurons. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they used to say that your brain is hardwired and
Right.
you're going to turn out just like your parents and that you're doomed by your genes and that's the end of your life. But actually we're marvels of plasticity and adaptability. And as long as you're evolving your actions and modifying your behaviors to do a better job in life, your brain literally installs new circuitry to reflect your own evolution.
And so that new circuitry comes, though, from our own thoughts changing our brain, or does it come from the environment?
Well, I think, you know, most people really wait for trauma or crisis or loss or disease, tragedy in some way, and when they get to that point where we reach our lowest denominator, that's when we begin to examine ourselves. And that concept in neuroscience is called metacognition. And metacognition says that we can pay attention to how we think, we can notice how we feel, we can, you know, become aware of how we act, so that those are in place so we can modify our behaviors to begin to produce different outcomes. So plasticity gives us that permission to do it, but once again though, if you biology then is a direct result of consciousness. So if you keep everything the same, then your biology stays the same, and now you're headed for your genetic destiny.
So Dr. Joe was in a movie called The People versus the State of Illusion. And it's all about how we have positive thoughts and they get overridden, kind of, by our negative thoughts. And the whole movie, it's a great movie. It made a huge impact on me, and I see a lot of movies, but this was a transformational film set around a storyline of a man who basically lost his daughter to the social system because he got arrested, And it really touched my heart. And throughout the movie of this story of this man was all of the learnings and the teachings that come through. We have a trailer of this. I want you to see this movie. It's really great. It made a big impact on me.
Old science, genes control you, you don't control the genes. You're a victim of your heredity. Whatever is running in your family, you can likely expect to get that because of the genes that are running in the family. The new physics is completely different. It says that environment is controlling your genes. So if you change your response to the environment, change your environment, then you have power over your biology. Bottom line is simple. We move from victim biology genetics to master of biology epigenetics. And this is the exciting time because this is the time for us to recover our power. The mind has a conscious creative mind, but a subconscious program mind. The conscious mind does not go into full operation until after age 7. The first 7 years, the mind is in a lower vibrational state called theta. And this is when you can read this by putting wires on a person's head, EEG. The relevance of theta is that it represents imagination, which is what kids under 7 live in. Half the world is imagination. The mother says, give me the broom. The child says, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a horse. So to the child, the broom in the imagination state of theta actually is the horse. So theta is imagination. More important, theta is hypnosis. The relevance about that is, if you think of all the rules an individual must learn to become a functional member of a family and a community, thousands of rules. I said, well, how do you teach an infant thousands of rules? And the idea is, well, you can't give them a book. And you can't teach them in a school. So basically, what we have to understand is this. Nature created the first 7 years of download hypnosis to observe other people, the parents, the siblings, and the community. Observe their behavior and directly download their behavior as the foundational download of behavior. Once a child is becoming conscious, which is around age 7, the conscious mind will use that programming to maneuver in the world. The most important part is this. We have to recognize that this is a program, and number 2 is that most of the programming psychologists have revealed is negative and disempowering, and number 3 is that we are capable of changing the program. And once you understand that, then you are free to rewrite the story of your life. But if you don't do that, your life has been programmed. And this is not anything new. For 400 years, the Jesuits have said, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. What people didn't understand they were saying is, if I get the program the first 7 years, I will determine the outcome of that individual's life. Now, that sounds like, oh, that's an interesting fact. I go, it's a fact that has never been lost in 400 years. And in fact, today we're being programmed much more effectively. So the first 7 years you're downloading. And you've been downloading since actually before you were born in the last trimester of pregnancy. So the question becomes very seriously, what are my programs? And why it becomes a question is you are not even conscious when the programs are downloaded. So you say, well, I don't know what my programs are. I don't know what I learned when I was 1 year old. So the exciting part about it is that science has recognized that 95% of our life comes from subconscious programs. So a simple truth is this. You look at your life and it is a printout of your programs. So it's simple. You don't have to know who said what, who did what. That's blaming the messenger over the message. The message is, what did you learn? Program. And I say, yeah, but the program is what you're playing 95% of the time. So therefore, look at your life and it comes down to simple. It goes like this. The things that you like that come into your life come in because you have programs to accept those. The other part, though, is anything that you work hard at, struggle over, sweat over, what you put a lot of effort into. Question, why are you working so hard to make these things manifest? The answer inevitably is your programs in your subconscious do not support that end.
What that means is that the scientific foundation upon which we base many of our beliefs about who we are, our relationship to ourselves, to our bodies, to one another, and to the world, it's based upon a foundation of scientific beliefs. New discoveries are now overturning those beliefs. That's the good news. The flip side of this is there is a reluctance, and in some cases an outright resistance, for the mainstream media, mainstream academia, classrooms, textbooks to share the new discoveries. This would be important at any time, but it's especially critical right now because we are at this moment of crisis in our time in history.
Absolutely, and it's to no fault of theirs because these are such new discoveries. And the whole idea of doing a show like this is to get it into the minds of people, because this is going to shatter beliefs. This is going to shatter systems that we were taught in school about history. And evolution.
Absolutely, Lisa. And I want to be very clear that this is, it's not the teacher's fault. There is a story, there's a scientific story that has developed and been embraced for over a century and a half about who we are and our relationship to the world. And it takes time to change that story. We know that.
Right.
But the experts are telling us is we don't have decades to change the way we think of ourselves so that we can solve the crises of our time. And that's why I think this program is so important.